and I've had beef with UNT. UNT shot me 5 times in my back. Well, they're on 48, right?
Crazy.
So there's a lot of history between the Border Brothers versus UNT. That's another game we've been at it with, right, for a long time. Since the beginning of time. Since UNT came on board, that's how long we've been beefing. But I was talking about this because he got snatched up on 39th, right there in my neighborhood, in the heart of my neighborhood, on 39th and East 12. Hey, what's up with it, man? YouTube, man. What's going on, man? John Diesel, man, back on the scene again. Fucking with it, man. You already know what it is, man. I've been gone, dealing with, gunshot wounds, back pain from the bullet wounds and shit, man. Going through the aftermath, man, you know what I'm saying, of that 1990s gunplay era, man, you know what I mean? But anyhow, so yeah, I had to take some time off, man. Had to recover from some of those injuries, man, right? That's been tucking at me, right? But nevertheless, man, we all right, you know what I mean? At least I'm not in a wheelchair or, or dead, right? You know what I mean? Because look, life in prison or dead or a vegetable or in a wheelchair, you know what I'm saying? Or using crutches for the rest of your life. See, a lot of people don't talk about that part of the game, those that don't die but end up in a wheelchair for the rest of their lives, or their legs blown off, or no movement from the waist on down, right? Yeah, people don't talk about that consequence, right? But yeah, I was hit 8 times, right? 3 different occasions, right? On the street, on some gang shit, on some money shit, right? I got shot by the Northeast, I got shot by the South Side, and I got shot by the blacks, man. You know what I mean? I was, deep in the game, right? And I'm not doing this shit because we're up here trying to brag about what I didn't been through. I'm telling you my story, right? And along with my story comes a lot of interesting topics, right? But moving on, right? So I wanted to talk about a young cat named Lil Ray. He was a little northerner cat, right? From UNT, right? UNT was a well-respected gang in Oakland. I was around when they first came on the scene, right? As a matter of fact, I was at the catechism at the Catholic school on Saturdays with Fito and Alex, talking about the logo for Little UNT, because they wanted to start a Little UNT, right? So we were trying to make a design for the logo, right? A UNT logo, Little UNT, right? At the catechism, right? I remember that before I was even gangbanging, right? I was going to church school, right? There was a catechism for those that are Catholic and come from Hispanic families. You know that, we go through the quinceañeras and all that shit. We go through the first communion, and the females go through the quinceañeras and shit, right? And you know how it is being Latino, right? But anyhow, moving on, right? So I've had beef with UNT. UNT shot me 5 times in my back. Well, they're on 48, right? So there's a lot of history between the Border Brothers versus UNT, right? We went at it with them dudes, right? That's another game we went at it with, right, for a long time. Since the beginning of time. Since UNT came on board, that's how long we've been beefing. Because we've never been cool. We did have one time, we did catch on High Street, it was like 6 on 6, right? We all went one-on-one. That was probably about the only time that we kept it semi-cool. But moving on, right? So Lil Ray, he's from a different era, though. He's a much, younger. This is a more up-to-date era that I'm talking about, right? More recent times, right? Lil Ray was a motherfucker that was out there trying to get some street fame, right? And he was real good when it came to this, right? Yeah. When it came to licking motherfuckers, yeah, he was that dude, right? You know, and as far as the newspaper and as far as the media, that's pretty much what happened. They pretty much uncovered the whole story. There ain't too much more details that I can give you other than what the media's already provided, right? But I was talking about this because he got snatched up on 39th, right there in my neighborhood, in the heart of my neighborhood, on 39th and East 12th, right? I literally grew up on that corner. 39 and E1 Deuce, right? Right there. He got kidnapped from right there, from that corner, right? From within that area right there, right? You know, he was out there smoking his little cigarette, right? Something that he liked to do. Midnight, you know, a little bit after midnight, whatever and whatnot. Go out there and smoke his little cigarette, and they had his timing. All right, they pulled up on him, they yanked up on him, right? They snatched him up, boop, boop, boop. Put your ass in there. Boy, threw him in the trunk, and they was up out of there. Nigga, let's go. All right? Street shit, right? Now, once you're in that trunk, man, that's almost worse than having the handcuffs put on you, right? Having the handcuffs put on you means you still might live to live another day. You might live. Once you're in that trunk, man, you might not live. That's it. I almost got kidnapped, nigga, by Nacho and I think it was Red Cheek Rudy, man, from East 15, nigga. I was 11 years old. I was fresh in the game. Them niggas tried to kidnap me, right? For real. They really tried to throw me in that trunk, nigga. I ended up seeing Nacho after that in Old Folsom. Nacho, though, they say this real shit, nigga. We'll talk about that on a later day, because y'all niggas ain't know him. That's a scary feeling, nigga, knowing you about to get kidnapped, nigga. What the fuck you mean? So this nigga gets thrown in the trunk, right? And goes for a ride. You know, can you imagine what's going through his mind? Riding around in the trunk, nigga? And they take him to an undisclosed area. Touch him up a little bit, right? You know what I'm saying? Because money really wasn't the objective, right? They were just trying to get him as an individual, as a person. They didn't like him. They didn't like what he was doing, right? They didn't like him being shady. He was a shady nigga, right? And shady niggas don't last, right? From what I'm hearing, right, on the streets, right? But the newspaper and the media, you know, he gets thrown in the trunk, which happened, and he gets shot. And then he gets dumped off in the Oakland Hills, right? Everybody gets caught. You know, main dude took a life sentence. Everybody else took some time. One of them is already out. I don't want to talk about why might he out. I don't want to talk about his situation on how he got his deal. But anyhow, yeah, man, Lil Ray was a gangster though, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. You know, and he wasn't out there gang banging either. Like he wasn't out there on some reckless, fuck BB or fuck Sue and this is all about UNT. And he wasn't on some reckless shit, right? He was out there, you know, on some gunplay shit, trying to get a few dollars, right? Gang banging wasn't his thing, you know, because I'm not hearing about any stories about him going out there pushing up on some niggas over the gang shit, right? But like I said before, he was from UNT, right? Lil Ray, Reynaldo Vasquez, man. All you gotta do is Google it, put Reynaldo Vasquez homicide or kidnap 39th Avenue East 12th. It'll pop up, and the newspaper, the media bullshit will pop up and tell you what happened, right? You know, real. You know, it's not. We hear about these type of stories all the time, right? This ain't nothing new, right? where your own homeboys turn on you, right? That's not nothing, that's unheard of, right? Most of the time, that's the way it goes, especially like in prison. The nigga that knows you the closest is the one that's gonna knock you down, right? So, but prison, that's another story, right? And so while we're at it, let me tell you something about UNT right quick though, right? UNT, when they came on the scene, they were just UNT, right? And they were claiming green rag, right? And they were real adamant about being green rag and being on some player shit, right? Because they all used to dress with the button-up pants and the what we used to call them, man. You know how you had them niggas that always was the disco niggas, right? That always was going to the club and shit every weekend, right? We used to do the same. We used to hit the club every weekend too. There was one time where we used to hit the club every weekend too, right? But there was these dudes that was their objective, right? Was to go to the club every weekend, and that's how they represented their gang, right? UNT was that type of gang. They were a gang that would like a party gang, right? But about the gunplay though, right? Because they had gotten into situations early on with other gangs, right, in Oakland, and had solidified their spot in Oakland, right? It's not easy to get a gang up and running in Oakland. Southsiders tried fucking for years, and they couldn't get it, right? Until SSL came along, right? Shout out to SSL. But yeah, because Oakland niggas, we just don't let niggas just pull up and post up and act like it's cool that you can just start hanging out. If you come from another city, we're not just gonna let you bring your city into our city, or that's just the mentality in Oakland, right? So, but UNT, most of them niggas were from Oakland, right? Were niggas that went to school in Oakland, and they decided to band together and started a gang called UNT, which was Green Rag, right? I actually knew the dude that started this shit, right? I had beef with the dude that started UNT. He went to Calvin Simmons. This was in junior high school days, right? But UNT started off, I want to say they started off their presence with some gunplay. You have to. If you're going to start a gang in Oakland, you gotta, if you're going to establish a spot in Oakland, whether it's a dope spot or a gang banging spot back in the day, you'd have to come in swinging, right? And what I mean swinging, you have to come in, you had to be about that gunplay. And you had to let it be known that you're here and you ain't going nowhere, nigga. Once they surrounding areas knew that you were from Oakland, and they were more accepting of you being, okay to post up, right? But if word came back that you were from another city, the opposition wasn't going to stop going in at you until you left. There was a gang called it was Tunerville Rifa. Yeah. They came to Oakland and tried to establish their gang up here. But once people found out they were outsiders, everybody made sure that they weren't gonna be allowed to post up, man. But anyhow, man, yeah. So back to UNT, man. Yeah. So UNT established a little flag on 61st. No, actually, they weren't really on 61st. They were more like in the 50s. When they first came on board, a lot of them used to live like in the Fruitville area and in the 50s, right? UNT, the first generation. And then they came up with a UNT 2, a second generation. And Green Eyes Hector, that was my partner, right? I grew up with Green Eyes, right? He was from UNT second generation, right? And second generation now, they were more on some gang banging shit, right? And the second generation was the generation that actually ended up going to the pen and figuring it out, man. They had to run north there because they're really from Northern California, right? So when them niggas from UNT went to prison, they decided to roll with the North. So when they came home from prison, UNT they went full blown red, right? They let go of the green rag and became Northerners, right? That's right around the time that UNT second generation came along, man. But anyhow, I'm getting ready to fuck off track, right? Just giving you a little bit of UNT history, right? From as far as what I know, and we've had a lot of run-ins with UNT. To be honest with you, it's crazy because you know there's border brothers that have little brothers or family members or cousins that are from over there or hang out over there. Because UNT also established a little spot on 61st, right? So that was kind of like a hangout spot that they had. They've had a few spots, right? But shout out to everybody that's out there, you know, living life in a positive way. And, you know, I'm just giving you a little bit of Oakland history, man. You already know what the fuck it is, man. John the Hitman, Diesel, man. I'm gone.